I'm inspired. I'm inspired.
Hey there guys, how's it going? My name is Sumit Chatterjee from the Flow Zone Academy, and I'm a flow state coach, which means that I help you feel better and perform better. Today I'm talking about stop seeking for answers and start creating your answers. This is that solar plexus energy today. This is that decisiveness energy today. This is just me pressing record and recording a video today, okay? Now, this is an exciting topic, okay? Specifically because of what Morpheus said. Do you remember what Morpheus said? There's a difference between knowing the path and walking the path. It's cool. It's cool to read about flow. But are you in the flow? Are you walking the talk? Are you showing up? Are you doing the rituals? This is important, guys, okay? It's important. It's okay if you miss out a few days or whatever, right? But getting your mind back onto the cycle of creation, of that inner work, is going to be a staple, a foundation for every single area. Whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're working 9 to 5, it doesn't make a difference, okay? This is a journey that applies to everybody and anybody. Flow state applies to everybody. So you could be watching, you could be, 10 years old, and this video would still apply to you. Why? Because maybe you're playing some sports, maybe you're doing some kind of activity. Any kind of activity that you're doing, you got to apply the best feeling inside and the best performance that you can have in that area. And it comes from pushing past the struggle phase, going into and letting go into the release phase, entering the pocket, entering the zone, altered state of consciousness, and then coming out of it and then consolidating and reflecting on what you just did, okay? Maybe you're 10 years old and you don't know what consolidating is. That's okay. Okay, I use big vocabulary. Sometimes it just pops out, or I get downloads of big words that come in, okay? Completely normal. I'm actually learning to accept it more and more. And I think a big part of it was also that I used to read Calvin and Hobbes as a kid, right? And Calvin always used to use these like vast jargon, like these smart words, right? Words that make you sound smart. So I'm not saying that I'm smart or not smart. It's just that sometimes I'll just get different words, different vocabulary just pop into my mind. I think that's also partly why I became a rapper, and I'm so interested in linguistics and etymologies, if you know me, right? I always look up like word etymologies and things like that, so I'm a word nerd for sure. But yeah, guys, people get rewarded for quick thinking. Specifically, I've known the most successful people in my life are fast decision makers. They've always been able to just act super fast, not overthink it, not just stay on one topic and just, procrastinate until the last minute, but decide fast, okay? They procrastinate on their procrastination. They doubt their doubt, okay? They're able to push past that little inner resistance that they have, right? It's an inner resistance. Whatever you're responding to right now, imagine the things that will give you the biggest resistance and realize that all of those are an inner feeling. Right? They might be a situation that happened, but all you're responding to is an emotional feeling as a response to that event. Got it? So it's about easing at those times of stress, easing at those times of tension, okay? And practicing that, just practicing surrender and letting go. The thing is, thinking longer about something doesn't prevent failure. We think that if we have the perfect plan, that's going to make it well. Well, yeah, planning is alright. Planning is great. Okay? Having a right set of tools, having a right framework, that's cool. But if you're working on that framework for the longest time ever, you're not ever putting it out there, how are people going to get benefit from that? It's just an idea that's sitting up in your head for years and years. I've had trillions of ideas in my head that I haven't put out into the physical world. Okay? The ideas that I have, I've clinged on to them, and I've made them happen. Right? Because I believe in them. There's a force, there's a grit behind that idea that's going to give it some momentum. And you take the ethereal and you make it material. That's how you manifest, right? You take the ideas, and then you give power to those ideas. Notice that when you're in a meditative state, or when you're praying, or even if you're just in a relaxed state, you're much more receptive to ideas. Right? Ideas coming in, ideas going out. So you want to understand that what you're doing right before sleep is so important, because in the sleep realm, in the dream realms, you're going to enter that realm with the last self-concept that you have of yourself. And if your self-concept is low self-esteem and a weakened version of you, you're going to enter that dream realm and you're going to manifest things in the waking realm, because that's how you're entering the subconscious mind realm, essentially, right? And when you're doing that, it's like, hey, there's so much possibility here, but it's so important for you to go to sleep on a good state, wake up with a good state, okay? That's one of those things that I just have to tell you. This is a must, okay? This is a must. Waking up and going to sleep in a good mood. I have on my ceiling, I have Higher Self Evolved, and I have a smiley face up there. And it says, I am blank. So I add an affirmation of the day, I am, how am I feeling, right? And I try to frame it as positively as I can. If I'm feeling tension, I say, I'm feeling challenged, right? So anything that I see, it's just like the first thing that pops up into my mind, and then I apply that. But yeah, I've heard this from my business coach, Joe Nicasio. You know, he told me that the law of diminishing intent, the longer you put something off, the less likely you are to do it. I believe this is from Jim Rohn. Not too familiar with a lot of Jim Rohn's work, but I know he's one of the goats in the field of personal growth and personal development, right? But yeah, the law of diminishing intent is just like so important, because we in this generation, we put things off so much. There's not enough decisiveness because there's so much digital overwhelm that we get split mind all the time, because there's so many options out there, right? This is why discipline is freedom, as Jocko Willink says, right? When you give yourself discipline, you give yourself less choices to decide. The word decide means to cut out all other options. I've told you this like a trillion times probably in these videos, but I want to reiterate it again. You want to take out all of the stuff that isn't working for you and all the decisions that aren't serving you, okay, to actually get to the crystal clear decision that is going to take you forward. Oh, you got to be almost like Richard Branson when, you know, the flight got canceled or wherever, and he hired a plane, and that eventually that became Virgin Atlantic. Like, that is a decision-making, like, example that you can't go missed, right? You can't miss that. It's just like, it's there. It's such a powerful, like, example of that, right? You know, Steve Jobs, you know, getting the idea for the you know, iPod, for instance. Like, that's just you can't deny that. That was a quick decision, and he followed through on that one idea until it formulated into an actual physical thing, right? Physical thing. So when you say to yourself, maybe I'll do it, yeah, I'll do it next week, oh, I'll do it later, it's probably, it's like, it's that nature. It's that nature of you pushing it off, saying you'll do it later, but never actually getting it done. So what you got to do, you got to speak to yourself in the present moment. This is called power linguistics. I learned this from Aaron Sager when I first did a program in men's work called King, like in 2017, I believe it was. And it was so powerful, because when I started to speak to myself in the present moment, I'm doing this now, and just saying it and stating it and putting energy behind it, and how I'm talking to myself is so important. No little weak thoughts are allowed. This is the issue with a lot of nice guys, right? The nice guy syndrome is they're indecisive, right? And they're indecisive because they're liars. They're manipulative because they're not speaking their truth, right? They're speaking of what they think people want to hear. And so they're just, you know, kind of going with the flow. They're not being the flow. They're not making the decision. They're not being the cause of their life. They're not standing up for what they believe in, right? They're kind of just suffocating their own sense of expression and free will. They're kind of holding on to it, and eventually it's going to pop out in a moment of anger, or pop out in a moment that's just unhealthy, right? So instead, why not express yourself in that moment? If you want to tell someone to F off, tell them to F off, okay? This is the process of doing this, okay? I'm not saying to be completely mean or whatever, but sometimes you need to balance that animal decision-making side with the compassionate side, the tender side of you. And when you have both the deterministic side of like, hey, I'm so determined, I'm gonna get to the finish line, but at the same time you're so kind and loving at the same time. Kind. Notice I said kind and not nice. Nice, the word nice means idiot if you look at the etymology, okay? I'm not looking to hang around any nice guys, okay? I want to hang around kind men, good men, okay? Good-hearted men. And women as well, nice women. They're just nice, okay? Look, it's not going to push you forward if you're in this people pleaser mentality, specifically here in West Bengal. I've noticed it so much in a lot of people. There's an inherent wanting to please, wanting to, always be self-sacrificing. And this nature is so embedded into the culture, it's difficult to break down. One little tiny thing is like, hey, you didn't put your cup away, and you get yelled at by your mother-in-law or something. It's like, that's the mentality, right? So it's like, you really have to pinpoint that and break out of that. When you want to say something, say it from the bottom of your heart. If you keep suffocating your own self-expression, it's going to come out in very, very negative ways. And I know this. I've experienced this firsthand, okay? The next thing that I would tell you is to make faster decisions is one, to get tougher, more mentally resilient, right? Get some thicker skin so you're able to take the rejection, you're able to take all of the little roadblocks that come up in the pathway, right? That is to work on your internal triggers. To master time, you must master your internal triggers. This is what I said this morning in my check-in, right, on Instagram, if you guys follow that as well. So, really being able to fine-tune that, right? The next thing, and the final thing that I would leave this video with, is to do something that scares you, okay? Do something that's terrifying, that you don't want to do. And when you lean into that fear, there is something that unlocks within you, that changes and transforms your character, okay? In that moment of fast decision making, like I remember when I first hired a business coach, right? And it was like, one of the first times that I ever hired a business coach, and it was like $2,000 for like a week of training or whatever, right? Like a month of training. And I was like, man, this is a lot of money, I don't want to freaking do this. And that little moment, though I didn't get my return on investment, I didn't, because it was my first time ever, hiring a coach. I didn't really know what I was getting myself into, However, at the same time, that person who sold me had probably 110 level certainty, and you notice salesmen do this really well. Right, they're able to have that certainty when they speak. They're like boom, 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 boom. Like they do that really well, right? And so that is what was very magnetic about that quality, because I wanted that quality within myself, and that's what I was paying for. I was paying so maybe as a proxy, he would transfer some of that certainty onto me. All right, this doesn't work like that, right, all the time. So you got to understand what you're getting yourself into when you're paying for different products and doing this kind of stuff, right? Because if I would have just gone in, did it, and I keep doing it, I keep investing in myself, but I'm fast in my decision making. Last night, Easy D was like, the first people who sign up for the Beast Camp, like 25% off. I was like, boom, I'm going to do it. Right? Don't dilly-dally, don't be wishy-washy, just do it, okay? And for the people watching who are interested in getting into Flow Zone Academy, stop delaying that. Okay, for real, stop delaying that. The time is now. It's already been time, actually. You should have done that yesterday. You should have reached out to me and gotten onto this coaching program, because it's going to transform your life. If you're watching all these videos again and again, just think of what coaching with me is actually going to be like. If you're getting value from just these videos, imagine what coaching with me is going to be like, okay? It's going to freaking change your life. You already know that, though. Have an amazing day. May the flow be with you and stay legendary. See you next time.